I blew my funder account and somehow got funded again within 3 days, only to blow it again. And to top it all off, I managed to fail another evaluation account too. And the worst part, this all happened last week. The same week I told you guys I probably wouldn't trade and there might not be a video because I had some stuff to take care of. But I may or may not have secretly traded anyway. And honestly, given how recklessly I've been overtrading these past few weeks, I can't even act surprised anymore. So before starting this week's trading session, let's have a quick recap to see how I managed to speedrun all of that in just 1 week. So at the start of Monday's session, I profited and lost some trades. Pretty normal stuff, right? But things started crashing after this short, where I was kind of oversized in a volatile market, but what really tilted me the most was I actually tried to bail off the trade after seeing some rejections, but somehow an error message popped up, so instead of taking a smaller L, I ended up taking the full stop loss to drop my account straight into deep red. Honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal, but I just couldn't get over the fact that my account could have been less red had the trade closed out as intended. With that, I don't know, I started tilting and kept sending longs hoping the market could rip higher, which unfortunately ended with me blowing the account. Had I just waited patiently for a proper pullback, I would have been rewarded, but yeah, I just don't really care anymore. So moving on to my second funder that I magically passed within 3 days. I low-key got rage baited on the first day since the candles were hella huge and I was kind of oversized on most of the trades that I lost, which ended with me setting a new record of blowing a funder account 1 day after passing. And seeing I really nuked 2 funder at that point, I just full potted another 50k eval on the last few trades to blow yet another account before finally surrendering. So oops. Alright, so a brand new account and I decided maybe it's time to change something since last week's candles were absolutely massive and low-key impossible for my brain to process. So I figured I'll try switching my entry chart over to range bars and see if this somehow fixes my decision making. Probably not, but let's find out. Pre-market was looking pretty bullish because overnight prices kept printing higher highs, so I'll be leaning longs instead. And then immediately, I kind of broke my own rule because I took a stab long before market open since prices still looked strong and the 5 minute was continuing higher. But halfway through the trade, I remember I literally told myself not to trade pre-market anymore, so I just took the money and ran for 63 bucks. Market opens and naturally I wanted back in, and since the day still looked bullish, I went long looking for continuation, and honestly it was working at first until it wasn't. Prices started slowing down and after seeing the 5 minute candle looking kind of weak, I got scared and just took the L early for 27 bucks. But almost immediately after stopping me out, the 5 minute printed an engulfing candle and I was like, alright, maybe I just entered too early. So I sent another long and got a bad entry from slippage, but somehow the market respected the idea anyways and tapped me out for 300 bucks. At this point, prices started bouncing near the highs and in my head I was like, alright, surely this thing needs a pullback. So I took a step short, exit halfway through. I remember I was literally trading against the whole pre-market plan and started sweating. So I bailed early to lock in 140 bucks. Then this is where I started tweaking a little because I flipped back long after price started bouncing off the EMAs, but immediately after entering, prices started rejecting and instead of trusting the setup, I got scared and bailed. Then naturally, my conclusion was maybe the long idea is wrong, so I switched short instead and got stopped out almost instantly. But seeing prices still struggling to push higher, I convinced myself the short wasn't wrong and my timing was. So I sent another short and this time it actually worked, which apparently gave me enough confidence to short again, ignoring the fact that we were still above all the EMAs. And I genuinely don't know why I kept fading the EMA today, but the market quickly reminded me and I took another L. Eventually, I stopped trying to outsmart the market and noticed price was finally showing actual bullish momentum. So instead of predicting a reversal every 10 minutes, I just followed the move and caught a breakout long for 323 bucks. And seeing momentum continue, I sent one final long after a green candle closed on a 5 minute to secure another quick 175 bucks, ending my first day out 536 bucks after commissions. Judging from overnight market, prices were mostly chopping sideways and moving in a range, so coming into the session, I wasn't expecting anything crazy. Right after market open, prices bounced off the bottom of the range and I figured, alright, decent place to take a step long. But this trade was low-key sus because prices were still sitting below the EMAs and in my head I was already preparing for some chop fest. So after seeing the 5-minute candle close below the EMA, I just built for a small $70 loss. And of course, the second I built, price slowly grind towards my original target, so dang it. But the market just kept printing higher highs and I convinced myself maybe the idea wasn't wrong, so I sent another long, but this time the market actually shut the idea down real quick, stopping me out almost immediately for $180. At this point, I started thinking, alright, maybe this thing is running out of gas, so naturally I switched sides and went a step short. Even though I have to hold through some retracements, luckily sellers eventually stepped in and the market finally rolled over to secure $375, dragging me back into the green. Shortly after, the 5-minute actually closed with a fat red candle, so I was like, no way I'm gonna miss out on this move. So I sent another short, but unfortunately, the market had other plans and tapped me out for a fat loss, which basically wiped out my previous profit. But seeing price still struggling to push higher, I wasn't ready to give out on the shorts, so after waiting for a cleaner retracement and the market's rejecting off the EMAs, I shorted again. And luckily this time, price actually respected the short and dumped hard enough to bank in $520 to put me back in the green again. At this point, the market was absolutely dumping and honestly, I was already imagining a bigger flush. So after another decent red candle close, I took one last step short. But prices literally started bouncing just a few ticks before my target, and seeing last week's crash out flash before my eyes, I folded and secured $180, which I low-key should have held, but seeing I've already taken quite a few setups today, I just hop off the chart to end the day up around $450 after commission. Alright, so today we had a bunch of news lined up, which usually means volatility, and keeping in mind the market might just start moving sideways before the news. So judging from overnight market though, prices weren't doing much, but we did pop back above the EMAs, so for now, I was leaning slightly bullish. Well, off open, price did dump straight through the EMAs and started printing lower lows, but I was like, this has to be a fake move to shake everyone out. And eventually, prices did reclaim the EMAs again, but I kinda entered late into the move because the market started dumping almost immediately to stop me out for $200. And literally right after that, prices shot back below the EMAs again, so naturally, I was like, alright, maybe longs are cooked. So I shorted and it looked kinda decent at first, but unfortunately, the market chose to end the move lower and proceeded to stop me out yet again for another $270. At this point, I was back-to-back red and low-key getting whiplash. So when price started rejecting from the lows, I figured maybe the downside move was already done, so I took another step long, but halfway through, I realized we're still trading below the EMAs. So I just bailed early for $85 loss. Then finally, the market popped back above the EMAs, and this time, instead of chasing, I waited for a clean long. And luckily, this trade actually respected my idea, which eventually banking a fat profit of $545, pulling my account back to almost break even. Then seeing the market struggle to break above the 50-minute ORB, I just took a step short to grab yet another $180 to finally bring my account back to the green. And I kind of followed with more shorts after the market broke below the EMAs, which got stopped out break even a few times, but eventually price did roll over to tap my target for another $175. After that, things went all over the place because Trump started speaking, so I figured this was probably a good time to step away for a bit. When I came back, prices seemed like they were having a hard time pushing lower, so after a fat bullish candle close on 5-minute, I followed the momentum and entered long, which quickly secured $240. So with that, I gladly walked away up around $500 to end my day. Alright, so we're kind of halfway through the evaluation already, and since Friday's a holiday, today's basically the last chance to end the week a little closer to passing the account. Pre-market was low-key bullish since price spent the overnight trading above the EMAs. And right when the market opened, it pulled the same stunt as yesterday, where price immediately dipped after being bullish all night. So I was like, alright, I'm gonna wait for price to reclaim the EMAs before going long. Pretty easy, right? And was I late to the party again? You bet I am, because right after entering, price ripped lower to stop me out for a fat loss. Still, I wasn't ready to give up on longs yet, so after seeing some reaction, I re-entered. But price just couldn't get back above the EMAs, and instead of waiting, I just took the L early. At this point, I was like, alright, if price wants to stay below the EMAs, then I should be able to cop some shots, right? So I flipped and luckily clawed back some profits. Then the market started pushing again, and I figured longs should be back in the game, right? Except right after entering, price started rejecting almost immediately, so I got scared and bailed. And of course, right after I exited, price started pumping. So I'ma just re-enter, and luckily this time, it actually ripped up to my profit, banking in over 400 bucks. Now, seeing price freely trading above the EMAs, I just took another long after a decent 5-minute close, and I swear this trade got personal because price was just a few points away from my target before pulling back, which I low-key felt this thing might be loading for a bigger retracement, so I just bailed for a smaller profit, which ended up being the right call because I would have been stopped out if I held. A few minutes passed, and seeing the retracement lose steam, I took another step long to grab yet another 170 bucks profit. At this point, I was already up a decent amount, so I was debating to end my day early, but after a fat green candle close in a 5 minutes, I figured maybe momentum might not be done yet. So I stayed for another long, which luckily secured another 200 bucks, ending my day for up a little over 500 bucks to end this week's trading. Okay, let's do a quick recap on the past 2 weeks. So first, I screwed up 2 funded accounts, followed by a 50k eval last week, and somehow ended this week with my new account up 2k profits, leaving just 1,000 bucks before passing again. Not sure if you guys noticed the pattern with the past few videos, but I always do pretty well during the evaluation phase, but the second I move to the sim funded, the market kinda just detects it and starts messing with me. Maybe it's about the mental part of trading that everyone's been preaching about, or I'm basically cursed to trade the evals forever. So what do you guys think? Have you ever been through something similar? If so, how do you usually deal with it? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you've been enjoying the journey so far, feel free to like and subscribe as we continue to fight for that first payout. With that being said, I'll see you guys next week. To the moon!